VETV.
Hey, it's your dog Hollywood Spryte, aka Brilliance, and this is VETV, man, and I'm back with another one, man. Y'all know who the man we got right here in front of us, man. 16 to life. You been doing all right?
Oh, you know, I can't complain, man. Any day above ground and outside that fence is great for me, so I ain't got no complaints.
Hey, man, before we start this interview, man, can you give him the saying one time, man? Can you give it to him one time?
Man, you already know what it is, man. It's your boy 16 to life. I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down.
That's for sure, man. Let's get to it. We're going to do something a little different today, man. You know, I already interviewed you, man. I'm glad to have you back on the platform. I want you to take me into the mindset. Out of the 24 years that you spent in prison, what situation caused you to lose the most sleep?
The situation that caused me to lose the most sleep was when I was preparing to go to the parole board and had a parole hearing the next day. And so that definitely, man, I remember actually the two times that I actually went, because I had to go twice before I was finally released and found suitable. And each time, man, I stayed up all night. I'm talking about literally all night and couldn't get no sleep. And so, you know, just imagine being up all night and then going to this, you know, knowing that the next day you got this parole board hearing where basically, you know, essentially I'm in there fighting for my life, man. So the first time, like I said, I stayed up all night. I think I was scheduled to go in there before the commissioners. They have one commissioner and they have a deputy commissioner in there. Your lawyer is also going to be in there. And then they're also going to have the district attorney, who, of course, is coming to oppose you being released. And also they can have the victim's family in there, two members of the victim's family. I didn't have neither one of those. But so, you know, this is the situation that I'm already know that I'm heading into, knowing they're going to be in there asking me these, you know, these deep, detailed questions about the crime and stuff. And so, like I said, I stayed up all night. I couldn't get any sleep. And I was scheduled to go in there like about 12:30. So that's another, you know, maybe 5-6 hours that I'm staying up. So it definitely, man, was, you know, the experience that caused me to lose sleep. And then so the first time I went in there, and I'll be a little more detailed later on as we going on into this, but the first time I went in there, of course, I got denied. And so the second time, maybe about a year and a half later, when it was time for me to go back, I said to myself, okay, well, since I couldn't sleep that last time, what I'm going to intentionally go outside and do is work out. You know, I used to do a lot of cardio stuff. So that day I went extra hard, man. I went and worked out maybe about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, you know, ran a couple of miles, went and did me some burpees for about an hour or so, ran up and down the basketball court doing push-ups on each end. And I put in a real strenuous workout, hoping that, you know, after I go in and take a shower and all that, that would be able to put me to sleep. And man, I'll be dang, man, if all that stuff still didn't work, you know, just right. I guess the nervousness, man, of knowing that, you know, I was going to board and potentially could be found suitable and eventually released after so long was, you know, it just was nerve wracking. And I guess I had too much anxiety to go to sleep.
I also understood that Pete Wilson, which was the California governor, and Greg Davis, which came, you know, after him, they didn't parole lifers. Knowing that, you know, how did you keep a clear mind? And also, what was the mindset of the prisoners, you know, on the compound, knowing that there's a strong possibility that they'll never get released? Okay,
that's a great question, right? So when I finally, when I initially got sent to prison, 'cause I stayed in the county jail for 2 years fighting my charges. I was charged with 3 attempted murders, and then I also had a separate trailing murder after that. And so when I initially get sentenced, I end up getting 16 years plus life. And so when I get to prison in 1996, me and this other guy we had caught the chain, and they call when you leave the county jail, they send you to your first prison, which is basically reception. And when you go to reception, you'll just be analyzed, diagnosed, or whatever. Then they figure out what prison they're going to send you at, and you'll be housed to do your time. So when I left reception and I was sent to Salinas, me and this individual, we caught the chain. And they call, you know, catching the chain, leaving from one prison, going to the next when you're on that bus ride and you get chained up. So anyway, when we hit the first prison that I hit was called Salinas Valley, and it was a level 4 maximum prison. And so I'm thinking, me and the other guy, he had 15 years to life. I had 16 plus life. So, we thinking that after a period of time, we will get out. So another dude come up to us by the name of C. Looney. He was a Crip from Venice Showline. And so, he's been there for a while. We're both pretty young. The other dude that I'm with is maybe about 18, 19 years old. So he asks us, how much time you guys got, man? And so, I tell him I got 16 plus life. The other dude tell him, who was a Crip from Hoover, he tell him, hey man, I got 15 in life, but I'm only 18 or 19. I'll be out when I'm 32 or 33, whatever the math was. So the dude C. Looney said, oh man, y'all ain't going home. If you got life, you ain't never going home, So then he started explaining it to us, Right. So even when you were sentenced to life with the possibility of parole, the governors have the final say, and they were systematically denying any lifer who was found suitable. So how this works is, like I spoke briefly earlier, you go to the parole board, and it's a commissioner and a deputy commissioner. They'll ask you about your crime and all this type of stuff. And it was extremely rare for them to find a person suitable anyway, But in the event when they did find you suitable, California had voted into law that the governor has the final say. So if the parole board say, hey, yeah, man, I found Chill suitable to get released, it would take like a 5-6 month period where, the T's had to be crossed, the I's had to be dotted. And one of the final procedures in that protocol was the governor had to go look at your finding of suitability. He had to go look at it and then basically mark off on it. So if he found, for whatever reason, he found something troubling, maybe they would, a lot of times the excuse they would use is, oh man, this dude's crime was too terrific, or he didn't have enough insight on why he did what he did. So any type of reason they could come up with, then they'd say, okay, man, no, I disagree with the parole board's decision, and now I'm revoking his finding of suitability. Now, keep in mind, we have 12 commissioners, parole commissioners, who sit on this parole board. Now, many of these commissioners are ex-law enforcement, ex-police officers, highway patrol.
Right.
You have some of them who are even ex-wardens and ex-COs. So they already have a disdain for the person sitting in front of them 9 times out of 10, So they don't want to see you out anyway. But in the event they was to have a rare, chance of saying, okay, yeah, this dude is getting released, like I said, the people in California, the citizens of California, had voted it into law and gave the governor power, where if the governor could come and say, no, I disagree with these guys, I take this dude's finding of suitability, even though all those commissioners on that parole board was people who got to be placed on the parole board by the governor. So what sense would it make for the governor to hire these people to do a duty of, finding people suitable or not suitable? And then when they do find you suitable, the governor reverses their position.
Right.
So, this was the challenge all lifers in California was up against, man. And we knew that they wasn't letting anybody parole. I believe like in the 5 years Governor Gray Davis was in office, he paroled, I believe it was 8 people in 5 years. I don't know the exact numbers of how many people had life during those times, but I'm sure it was in the thousands, And
Right.
So imagine over a 5-year period, even in just a 1-year period, you have thousands of people who have parole board hearings. And so over a 5-year period, this dude only okayed 8 people to be released. And it was the same with the governor before him. Like I was saying, initially, when I got to prison, Pete Wilson was the governor. He was the governor. And after he served his term, behind him came Gray Davis. And they were systematically denying any person who had life. They was denying him parole, So knowing that, man, it set a real dangerous environment in all California prisons, especially for people with life, because they had the mindset of, I'm never going home. And
Right.
So if you're never going home, you don't have any incentive to be good, to program, to stay out of trouble. So man, it was, and then like I'm saying, the people in there who had life, they didn't get life for passing out Bibles to begin with. They was already in there for murders or kidnappings, robbery, real extreme heinous crimes. So of course, like I said, they had no incentive to even be good from that point forward, man. And so just knowing,
so now like they're leaving them with no hope. You know what I'm saying? So
most definitely, man.
So
most definitely.
So, and I hate to cut you off, but with all that being said, though, 16, what was it? How did you keep a clear mind? You know what I'm saying, during all of that, man, with all of that running through the back of your mind? How did you stay focused and overcome that situation?
Well, to be honest, man, my way of dealing with having life was not even thinking about it. In my mind, I had already accepted my fate of never coming home, and to me, like I said, going to prison was just another extension of the street. I never thought I would go to prison. And I think that's the thing, when we out there on the street, man, I was running around popping my pistol and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I remember, okay, so like I said, I had 3 attempted murder cases. And one of those victims was testifying against me. So what I was trying to do was catch up with him and kill him to prevent him from testifying against me. Because I was on the run. I went on the run, which is how I ended up catching that murder case. Eventually, I did catch up to him and kill him, and I got charged with that as well. But so my dad, he knew what I was doing, and so my dad, I remember him telling me, man, he said, "Be careful," he said, "Be careful, man. They giving people life for murder." I said, "Oh, don't worry, Dad, I ain't gonna get caught."
Right.
And so, I never forget that, man. And I said all that to say, that's a lot of times, that's the mindset a lot of us have out there, man. When we're on the streets, we're doing wrong, we're doing illegal. Because, the more, I'm going to keep it real with you, Spryte, the more I popped my pistol, the more I shot people, the better it got to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to feel invincible. I'm starting to feel, I can't be caught. I'm too slick to be caught. But we fail to realize, we can get away with it 15 times, but it only takes one time for us to get caught and for us to be through with money, for it to be over. That one, because we can't. First of all, we're out there doing stuff in an uncontrolled environment. So we can't control the neighbors peeking out the window or the little girl outside playing hopscotch that happen to see you pull up. All these different variables we're not thinking about. We not now, I'm much wiser than I was then, man. And of course, so I'm into it with other gang members. And I'm thinking these dudes ain't going to tell. These dudes ain't going, they're not going to go to court. They're going to keep it in the street. But we fail to realize everybody has a different level of dedication to the street. A lot of these people are hanging in the streets and doing this stuff to be accepted, and so their heart and soul is not really in it, man. I had a couple people get up on the stand and tell on me I'd been knowing all my life. But now you dudes are supposed to be gang members and all that type of stuff. So like I said, man, it's just so many different factors that factor into this street stuff that we cannot control,
Right. And I always tell people this, man, you hear people say all the time, I got principles and morals, you know what I'm saying? And everybody principles and morals completely different, bro. You know what I'm saying? People use that all the time, man. I stand on principles and morals. But, if you ask 30 people, everybody got a different situation.
Man, a lot of these dudes' principles and morals is about as strong as if you set them in a tub full of Jello, man. You lock a dude in that bathroom for too long, them principles and morals go out the window, man. And like I say, I didn't see it. And it took me a while to realize everybody's level of dedication is different, man. And so that's why it's always best to get out the streets, forget trying to fit in, forget trying to impress the next man. Because all these people that you're trying to impress, when you get locked up, they ain't going to be nowhere around, man. Earlier today, I was watching Instagram or something, and I seen, how they had these nice little women on there, and I seen this, and what attracted me to even turn, touch the reel and watch it was they had this nice looking sister on there with some nice attractive thighs, and she get to talking about, oh man, I don't want to be around no man if he ain't got that blicky on him. If you don't carry the blicky when things get sticky, I can't be around you. Now I'm thinking the second that things do get sticky and this dude bust his blicky and go to prison, she's out of there. You know what I'm saying?
Not only is she out of there, she taking the stand.
Man, all that, man. And anything you got at her house, car, jewelry, all that, your brothers and cousins and homies, they'll see the next dude riding around in that. Give her maybe she might last a year,
Right.
But So just all these things we don't factor into it, man. It's nothing more important than your freedom. It's nothing more. And we don't really realize that until it's taken away. Because I'm going to keep it real with you, Spryte. I went in there, I learned a lot. I took some self-help classes. But at the end of the day, man, I'm still me. I still have certain expectations, man. And if a dude disrespect me, I want to go upside his head.
Right.
The difference between now and then is now I have the experience of having my freedom taken away. And now I'm going to choose to react different. It's not that I won't bust your head. It's just that I don't want to inconvenience myself now. I don't want to be without the luxuries and the amenities that this free world has to offer, man. This good food, these beautiful women out here. Busting your head is not more important than being with my family, hanging with these beautiful women and doing what I want to do and all that type of stuff, man. It's crazy. Just yesterday, I just, went to the refrigerator. I got out me some mangoes to make me a smoothie.
Right.
And, I said, damn, man, because from time to time, this stuff still just, it'll just hit me unexpectedly. It's just like, man, I enjoy being able to do what I want to do,
Right. What kind of smoothie was that, may I ask?
Oh man, and look here, man. I love, all types of fruit, man. But like I say, so I get some frozen mangoes. I'll get some yogurt, peach yogurt. I get some either I'll go with some oat milk or I'll go with some a fruit juice. And this time I use some mango juice, or sometimes I'll go with some orange and pineapple juice, a cup of that.
Right.
I'll throw all that stuff in the blender, man, and just sit back and enjoy myself, man.
Right.
It's the little things like that, man, when we locked up in prison that we miss, plums, a piece of gum, I was dying for some McDonald's French fries, just all that type of stuff in there, man. And, the inconvenience we put on ourselves trying to be in the street, I tell you, Spryte, you can't explain it, man. You can't explain not ever knowing if you will be able to, chill with your family, hug your mom, eat something that you want to eat, man. I try to keep myself in shape, but man, I've seen dudes, man, who I was locked up with just 2 years ago. They had a lifers picnic. I go to the lifers picnic and the dude called me out, "Hey, chill, what's up?" I said, "Damn, man, who is you?" He said, "Come on, man, it's me, Spook." Right. This dude had been out and got so big just in them 2 years. But I can't blame him, because when you get out, man, you ain't had this food and that food and this and this and that. It's nothing like being able to get out, man, and enjoy yourself however you feel like enjoying yourself,
Right.
And
if you can, explain for the people, we talking about something as simple as a smoothie, right?
Right.
For the people who never been to prison and you know what I'm saying, heading down the wrong path, what's the closest thing you got to a smoothie in prison?
When I close my eyes and think about it. But and to keep it real, like I said, man, I got locked up in 94. So to my recollection, it wasn't no smoothies and all, man. I got out to a whole different world, which is a whole bunch of stuff. Chipotle and all these Java Juice joints and just whatever. Like I say, Spryte, whatever you want to do, man, it's so enjoyable. I went to prison really before the cell phones and before the internet. Now, when I was out, I had 3 cell phones. I had a big old giant cell phone that was like a brick. I had that. Then I had one that it was in a bag and it had a little thing that you would plug into the lighter. And then I had another one. It was a Tandy Vision. It was a product made by Radio Shack. And now these cell phones, $2,000, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, and the cell phone bill on those things was ridiculous. But to keep it real, those things were more objects of just flossing. Because like I said, I was out there hustling and selling dope, but the cell phone bill was ridiculous. Right. And we definitely didn't have any internet capabilities. So when I'm in prison, my buddy is telling me, "Hey, man, around 2011, maybe about 2007, but 2011, I was at this prison and it was flooded with cell phones." So my partner's telling me, "Hey, man, we ought to get a cell phone." I'm telling him, "Man, I'm cool, man, because, I got people I can call. I got a few people I still can call. And I can have, them make 3 ways in the event I want to talk to anybody else." Right. But I did not know that these cell phones had this internet capability. I'm not knowing about none of this stuff. So he he happens to bring one in the cell one day, man. And so we get on there. We looking at Facebook. We looking at the internet. I said, oh, hell yeah, I got to have one of these things, man.
Right.
So I said all that to say, and sometimes I get long-winded, but I said all that to say, imagine, Spryte, if you grow up and you're used to having those things. You're used to being on your cell phone. You're used to hopping on the internet. They lock you in that small little cell that's no bigger than a bathroom and go to talking about giving you 25 to life. Man, these dudes is going to talk quick, man. I'm telling you, not being, and see, back then, before I went to jail too, we had no cell phone. So I had, and the average person, you may have 4 or 5 numbers memorized that you can call.
Right.
Nowadays, with this technology, people don't have numbers memorized. So you go to jail, you can't even call nobody. You don't even got nobody's phone number.
I remember like 3 numbers, man, like that I can think of right now at the current moment. You know what I'm saying? Off heart, bro. And one of them, my grandmother, because she had the same phone number since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was just getting ready to say. I was going to say, I bet it's probably a number you've been calling all your life. You know? Not to mention, you have dudes who they change numbers often out here. You have people who change numbers often, man. And so, yeah, Spryte, it's man, going to prison is definitely, it's definitely not the business. So, and like I say, I digress. I got a little off track. And so I'm knowing all this stuff before I even go to the parole board. Now, luckily for me, by the time I did start going to the parole board, they had started revamping the system. You had a lot of lifers, you had dudes who was sentenced to 7 to life in there for 35, 40 years, man, and they was systematically and unfairly denying these people. And so, like I said, fortunately for me, I came at the right time where by the time I started going to the parole board, a lot of these lifers had filed appeals. And that's one good thing in California. We used to have these like magazines who kept us abreast of all the information pertaining to lifers, other prisons and stuff like that, man. A bunch of different little publications that printed stuff pertaining to lifers in jail and stuff. And I would read those faithfully, especially when they started revamping the parole system in California and letting lifers go. But I would read in a lot of these other, they'd have cases from other prisons. And a lot of these other prisons, their legal rights are trampled on and they're horrible compared to California. California, they're pretty good with, being fair when a lot of these individuals file lawsuits and stuff, especially opposed to these other prisons, man. Some of these other prisons are horrible in the things that they're allowed to do and the things that they're allowed to get, and stuff like that.
Right.
So you had a lot of these lifers who had been down, for 30, 40 years starting to file lawsuits and stuff like that. And several of those lawsuits was eventually ruled on in favor of the inmate or the convict who was filing that lawsuit. And so the good thing about that is once it pertained to one person, it pertained to all. And there was one case by the name of Sandra Davis. And I never knew that this was a Black woman until I got released and I looked up the information. Now, what she had filed about is a lot of times when you go to a parole hearing, they would tell the inmate that what you have been charged with is too heinous and too basically is too heinous and terrible to let you out. Well, the courts finally ruled that the nature of the crime is never going to change, but a person does have the potential to change and be rehabilitated. But that was one of the reasons they would systematically deny everybody. Heinous crime. Your crime is too heinous. Right. You could have been in there and not been in any trouble for 20 years. Your crime is too heinous to let you out. So due to lawsuits like hers that was filed and ruled on in the favor of her and other ones, they slowly but surely started revamping the parole board, getting rid of commissioners who had a high rate of denying people, making things more transparent and stuff like that. So by the time I went, they start, many people had been released. And so, that gave me a lot of hope, to stay out of trouble eventually and start, programming and stuff. I remember maybe around 2000 and maybe 2008 or 2009, a lot of us lifers, we got these ducats, which was basically like a pass telling us to come to this, to the church. And they was going to start doing these, self-help groups. Now, unbeknownst to us, the governor has already put in a plan to start releasing lifers, because it's too overcrowded. I guess, you got all these lifers who've been sitting in there for a long time and it's unfair. Plus they had done a study and they saw that the recidivism rate, which means people who are released from prison coming back. So that word is recidivism. If you're in prison and you get released, and you come back. So they saw that the recidivism rate of lifers was less than 1%. So, of course, if you let a person out that's done 30, 40 years, chances are very unlikely that this dude is coming back. So unbeknownst to us, they'd already put in a program to start releasing lifers. So now at this point in time, this is like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, maybe 2010. I can't quite remember. But anyway,
Right.
I hadn't yet been to the parole board. But while we're sitting up in there, I hear a lot of dudes who had already been in there 25, 30 years. They're in there. They're grumpy. They're grumpy. They're complaining even before the person that started talking, because they had become cynical because they had been through this process before. They were saying, "Oh man, this isn't nothing but like it was XCAT or some program they had put in place to before." Right. Because like I say, keep in mind, these dudes have been sentenced to 7 years of life, but they've been in there 30, 40 years. So they didn't believe they ever had a chance. They thought that this would be useless like the other programs. And so, and that's just to say a little something to show to a person's mindset, man. When you give a person no hope, like I said, man, he has no reason to believe he's ever getting out of prison unless it's through some type of legal action. And a lot of those dudes who got those ducats didn't even show up. Some who did show up didn't come eventually to these classes that was created to release lifers, because the governor and all these people knew that once they started releasing lifers, of course, you're going to get this public outcry. So the whole purpose of running us through these self-help classes was to say that we had this, this evidence-based training, to psychologically rewire us, basically,
Right.
So that definitely gave me a lot of hope, man. When it was initially time for me to go to my parole board hearing, the first one, I put it off. I think at that point in time, Spryte, I'd probably been in prison like 16, 17 years, man. But now that was before I took these self-help classes. Man, I was so shook that I put it off. It scared me, man. The thought of even, because like I said, I was locked up for 3 attempted murders and a separate murder. So in my mind, what in the world could I go in there and say to these people to have them think that I was suitable to get released, Right. And so, like I say, it shook me to my core, man. It shook me so much. I went in there and said, "Hey, I'm not even ready. I'll postpone it for a year."
Right,
and that's how frightening and horrible to me that situation was. And if I clearly think about it, that's the only time that I even really ever had just negative thoughts and feelings in prison, because like I say, outside of that, I accepted having a life sentence as part of the job. It was a potential consequence of gang banging and being in the street. But right. I just remember thinking like, damn, man, I done gave these suckers so much control over my life. I can't believe that, that I didn't gave these people so much control. And like I say, it frightened me and shook me to the core where I didn't even want to deal with it. So I postponed it for a year. When that year came back, I postponed it another year. The next year, I wanted to go in there because now they're starting to let people go a little bit. But at that point in time, when they come to me, they give you a lawyer and stuff. I'm sitting in the hole. I just got caught up in a riot. So I can't go in there fresh off a disciplinary action. Right. And then in the course of all this, I failed to mention at some point because initially before this new law got voted in, they could only deny me for a year or 2 years.
Okay. But
then they voted in the new law, Spryte, where they could deny you. The lowest that a person could get denied was 3 years. Now I've bumped up a year from 2 years, 1 or 2 years to 3 years. But now they could deny you 3 years, 5 years, 7, 10, or 15. So before you can even come back to the parole board. So imagine doing 15, 20 years and they tell you, you know what? You've been in here messing up. You're not learning. You're not getting any better. You don't have any insight to why you committed your crimes. Come back in 7 years.
Right.
So you don't even have a chance at getting parole in 7 years. When you in prison, a person that's done time, man, 7 years, I might not be able to go 6 months without getting a write-up because anything could happen. A fight jump off, you got to get involved, a racial fight, the guards could be having a bad day, write you up for something, all types of stuff, man. So it's extremely disheartening to be in that position, Right. And so the third time, like I said, I wanted to go and I'm telling my lawyer, no, I'm going. But my lawyer's saying, hey, man, listen, I don't think that you should go. If you go, I think they'll give you a multi-year denial. And so long story short, man, I end up going in there and stipulate because they wouldn't even agree to give me a 3-year denial. That's how cold them suckers was. They made me stipulate. So basically they said, come in here and stipulate for 5 years that you're not ready, or just come to the parole board hearing and let things play out. And so they definitely probably would have gave me a 7 or 10-year denial. So they basically boxed me in a corner and said, take a 5-year denial or else. And that was in 2011, man. So I took a 5-year denial, man.
You know, I heard you mention your father earlier, and you said, you know, he told you, man, you know, they give people life for murder, right? When that situation happened and you received that time, what was that conversation like?
My dad, he ended up passing away in 2003, man. But my dad was one of my biggest supporters, man. And I love him. I miss him. Hey, Spryte, listen, my dad, right? When I was 15, 16, started selling dope. You know, my dad is from Blackstone, Virginia, you know, and he right now, I don't even know how old he would be, probably in his 80s. So I'm mentioning that just to say that he grew up, he didn't know nothing about no crack, nothing about no drugs. He's from, you know, he's from the country, you know, a country boy. So, you know, in about 85, 86, 87, when all the crack hits, when he finally gets aware of it and all that type of stuff, I remember, man, there was a article in the newspaper that they had raided a rock house. Now, out there where I live at, they do have some older houses that was actually made of rock. So he went up there trying to see the rock house. So he came back. I remember him telling my mom, there ain't no rock houses on Allen Street, because he was on Allen Street. So he's thinking of a house made of rocks. This is how square and stuff he was, you know. And then so later, you know, so we start laughing. We tell him they're not actually talking about a rock house. They call crack rock. So later on, once he found out I was selling drugs, you know, one of his friends, hey man, your son up there on the corner selling drugs. So my dad came up there. He jumped out. You know, he had a motorcycle. He come up there, jump off the motorcycle. He trying to fight me and beat me up in front of my friends. You know, so he don't even want me up there. He's opposed to selling drugs and all that old type of stuff, right?
Right.
But once I got 18, he just told me, man, be careful. You know, be careful. And, you know, that's it. You know, he didn't really sweat me no more. At the time, before I catch my case, I'm going out of state to Montana. I'm out there selling big drugs. So do you know, man, once I got locked up, you know, my dad, man, started selling dope, started sending dope, taking dope to me to Montana, man, to help me get these lawyers and all that type of stuff, you know. Man. So it was crazy, man. Like I say, because the price of drugs in Montana the profit was enormous compared to, you know, California. You know, I could buy a half ounce for $300 in California, take it to Montana and dump it right across the table for $2,000. So, but my dad, man, he got involved in all this stuff, man, just to try to help me out and stuff. So, you know, we never really had a conversation about it. You know, the night that I end up catching the murder, you know, I called my dad, let him know, hey man, you know, I caught up with old boy. I left the gun at my friend's house. He went out, man, you know, got the guns, took the guns, hid the guns, all type of stuff, you know. So he essentially became my partner in crime, man. And you know, like I say, so he always had my back, man. And to this day, I honestly can say I wish that he had even got on my head harder. Even when I was 18, instead of just, you know, once I turned 18, just told me to be careful, even just stayed on me then. Because one thing that I realize now as parents, Spryte, we always gonna know way more than our children, man. And even though our children become of age where they're legal, they're legal age to buy liquor and do this and do that, we never, not saying that my dad gave up, but never give up. You know, always stay on our kids, man. Talk to them, because, you know, always try to keep them out of trouble. So, you know, shouts out to my dad, man. He, you know, he was always there. He was always there. You know, anytime when I was locked up, he continued to send me bread all the time. You know, made sure I didn't want for nothing and all that type of stuff. So yeah, man.
Man, you know, I always, even with my son, man, just give him the message. You know, whether you take it in or not, that's on you. But I got to tell it to you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna keep telling it to you, because one day it's gonna click. You know what I mean?
Most definitely, man. Most definitely.
All right, well, 16, man, I greatly appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, being on the platform, you know, again. And, you know how we end my show, man. I always end with a tad bit of positivity, man. So, you know, if you got a positive message you can leave for the people, and also let the people know how to find you, man.
You know, I heard this, man, in one of my self-help classes, and it resonated with me, you know, a lot. And so the saying, and I don't know if I got it exactly right, but I'm gonna say it, to the best of my ability. And what the dude was saying was, if you continue to do what you always done, you will continue to get what you always got. And so basically what he's saying, man, if you've been going to jail since 1995 for selling drugs, and you get out again in 2020 and you go to try to selling drugs again, you going right back to jail eventually, man. So,
right.
Try to look around, man. If you can't change the people around you, then change the people around you, man, because life is enjoyable, man. Life was not meant to be caged up, locked away from the people you love and the things you love, man. So I would just encourage everybody, man, to try to do better. Don't get caught up in trying to live this gangster life, because that runs out quick, man. The fun times will not equal to the sad times, And right. So that's all I gotta say, man. Just enjoy your life, man.
Hey, man, I greatly appreciate you again, man. Y'all the heavyweights, man, when it comes to the YouTube, man. CC, Banky, 7-8, Trill Boxing and all y'all. So I appreciate the support, man. Y'all come checking on a little small channel like me, man. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to all them people, man. And, there ain't no big me's and little you's and all that, because at one point in time, man, we all had small channels and all that type of stuff. And I remember it's a few real people who reached out to me. I definitely got to throw in Saint Laz. He's a YouTuber from New York. He does prison stories. He reached out to me, man. And, that's what we got to do, man. We all got to help each other. We all just got to help each other the best way we can. You know what I'm saying? Spryte, you always look out for me. For y'all who don't know, my page is 16 to life. You can catch me on YouTube. Spryte hooks up my thumbnails and all that. So you always look out for me, Spryte. Ever since I met you, we've always had a good relationship. You're a real solid brother, and I like to meet dudes like you and talk with them, chill with them, and we never know when we may need some type of valuable help or some type of valuable trade that the next brother has, man. So instead of trying to hate on everybody and let's use each other instead of abuse each other, man. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And before I get out of here, because he always shout me out on the channel, man, shout out to Terrence Gangster Williams, man. Y'all go check out his YouTube channel, the original Hot Boy. You know what I'm saying? He preaching a lot of positivity over there. That being said, we about to get up out of here, man. Yesterday's wins, no losses count. If you woke up blessed to be alive, keep pushing forward and strive for a greater tomorrow. I'm your dog Hollywood Spryte, a.k.a. Brilliance. And once again, man, thank you to Chill, you know what I'm saying, a.k.a. 16 to life. And we getting up out of here.
Damn.
Y'all down. All right. All right, salute, bro.
Hey, thank you for having me, Spryte.
All right, we'll do it again.
All right, one.
Veracity Exchange Television. Hey. It's VETV.